McDonald's is one of the largest, leading, and fastest-growing fast food chains in the world. Worldwide, there are approximately 40,000 franchise McDonald's chains existing in 2019, but many more are beginning its works to expansion and growing the company even more. McDonald's began their legacy back in the small town of San Bernardino, California, in 1940 by, of course, the McDonald's brother, Dick and Mac McDonald. Quote, by 1955, Ray Kroc was a young investor and entrepreneur who was jumping at the idea of opening and expanding the first McDonald's restaurant, states the ex-CEO of McDonald's, Donald Thompson. India is the second largest country in the world with a record number of 1.5 billion citizens, quote, thus making it roughly 1 in every 6 people who live in the entire world, states the Seattle Times, making this market a great opportunity for large corporations to succeed. Many Indians were against the idea of McDonald's developing the corporation within India because they were, 1, mostly vegetarians, and 2, they believed that the cow was a sacred animal, so killing the cow was against their views, and also they viewed McDonald's as the beef burger. Everybody knows McDonald's by the best beef, or the Big Mac, states Silpha Cannon, who was a reporter for BBC News. Today our focus is more within the country of India and why the development of McDonald's has been such a benefit for those who are located there, but also describe how globalizing a company can be a great thing within one's economy. McDonald's Corporation first began their descent into southern India in 1996 in a town called New Delhi. Because McDonald's is a franchise company, a local Indian citizen took ownership of the first location within India by the name of Vikram Bakshi. Quote, he was driven to accompany those who lived in India by providing a healthy, vegetarian, and beefless menu, states Amit Raynecker, who is a professor at a tech institute in India. McDonald's knew when they first were expanding into India that they would have to prove themselves to the citizens that they could turn their beef burgers into chicken or fish and have the same great taste as a beef burger would. McDonald's had to develop a plan for who the target market citizen would be and how they could attract many others outside that target market. The total demographics of people who were interested first in McDonald's when they first got into India was only 8% of that population. Good majority of those were the younger folks as well as the middle range class, states Amit. McDonald's originally decided to move into India because they were able to see the growth potential due to the population size and knew they would be able to incorporate the local goods into the Indian menus. While working with the local farmers to obtain organic and locally grown products, Vikram was busy away planning the menu selection for the greater community. The Indian menu consists of chicken, veggie, and fish sandwiches, French fries, hash browns, and of course the infamous McDonald's shake, says BBC News. Many other large franchise corporations attempted expansion into India, but, quote, were getting political backlash from the Indian government as well as the citizens due to the inappropriate pricing and lack of understanding of the local taste, which of course forced corporations to close all doors within India, states Amit. But luckily, due to McDonald's being locally owned and focusing on the needs of the Indian food and the market prices, McDonald's was able to become very successful. As for plans in the future in a global management perspective, McDonald's will most likely expand into northern portions of India very soon to help promote the growing corporations as well as helping diversify the fast food restaurant in that area.
As we look ahead and evaluate opportunities for McDonald's to expand in India, the outlook looks good. In terms of the political environment, the U.S. and India relations will remain on an upward trajectory. The U.S. and India did fail to reach a limited trade deal recently. However, an agreement is expected to be reached by 2020. other political risks have been eased. However, there are a few political risks that remain heightened through the end of next year in regard to Jammu and Kashmir, where protests and demonstrations may turn violent. So, in looking at an expansion strategy, McDonald's will want to avoid those areas. In regard to the economic environment, India is on a growth trajectory. It's one of the fastest growing major economies globally, with about 1 billion people in population, the second most populous country by 2020, and projected to overtake China as the world's most populous country by 2024. Out of that population of 1 billion, the middle class make up approximately 300 million people, which is the size of the United States, with India having the world's largest millennial population. Nearly 34% of the country's population are millennials, and also the world's youngest or largest youth population. So those are demographics for the country in coming years. And in terms of economic development, the country is set to grow around 7% this year and 7.4% in fiscal year 20. So favorable economic indicators, rapid growth, and the food and grocery sectors account for the majority of the retail market in India. Here's a quick snapshot of India's economic development over the years, and you can see growth for 2019 and estimated growth for 2020. The business environment in India has a positive outlook as well. And more specifically, the market for chain restaurants is expected to grow by $1 billion by 2020. What's interesting and what could make for an interesting strategy for McDonald's is that millennials are increasingly becoming more health conscious and are moving towards healthier and organic options. But in conjunction with that, eating out has become a really popular concept amongst millennials as well, with that focus on healthier alternatives. So convenience is key. The ready to eat product category has grown almost 30% over the last 5 years there in India as well. So some challenges that we have to face, that McDonald's has to face. A recent increased tax on caffeinated beverages. So in strategizing on how to expand in other markets, that will have to be taken into consideration. There are some food safety concerns as well. I mentioned in a previous slide the concerns in Jammu and Kashmir, where protests and demonstrations could potentially become violent. So we will need to pay close attention to that and avoid those areas in the short term. Opportunities for McDonald's expansion, however, do include McDonald's desire to own their own stores in the North and the East, which we will dig into deeper in another slide, and also some great supply chain opportunities for McDonald's as well.
So today I'm going to be speaking on the supply chain in India for the McDonald's franchise in the North and East, and the troubles currently avowed on it, as well as the 4 Ps of marketing that we can do into these areas if we were to go into, and personal recommendation on what is believed to be our best option to move forward in these areas. Regardless of the smooth operation in McDonald's India, the North and the East franchises are faced with some really tough tasks because the supply chain kind of just went out due to some uncertainties and all of that. Their logistical partner left, and which led to no product being able to get on shelves. You have no product, you can't sell anything. So it created this very big issue, and the company that says it cuts off is because of the reduction in volumes, future uncertainties, among any others. So they're just they in most of these parts in India, it's a 2-lane road, and there's not a lot of traffic laws too. So the transport is difficult enough, but if you have a reduction in volume and you just don't even feel confident about the areas, a lot of times they'll do their 5-year outlooks and really compile themselves and go, well, this is probably the best option for us. Um, this caused a shutdown of almost all the outlets in East India because the logistical partner just didn't even want to go there. And if you, like I said, if you have no means or method to get your food on the shelves or get your food in people's hands, then it's just impossible. You don't have another choice. Um, this just created a mess, including with the festive season coming up and all of this. In their areas where their food consumption, were, going out to eat so high, including with populations of heavy, heavy, dense, close knit populations. Here are the 4 P's of marketing in these areas, and this is McDonald's India marketing indefinitely. And the excellent menu that meets the demands of the population, heavily vegetarian, because the majority of people in India are vegetarian and strict vegetarians. So, like for instance, they have a potato burger that they have on their menu. That is, it's not only just fairly priced, marketed in the right way with Indian spices and vegetarians. So the majority of the public can take a look at that and go, "This is like the best option for me." In terms of place and location, they're when they do enter a place, they evenly spread it. So, in an essence, no matter what corner you turn, there's a McDonald's within, X amount of miles or kilometers in their occasion. And they do that to raise awareness and keep their logo in your eye constantly. The pricing is just purely based off of affordability and the mechanizable price of the area. So, for instance, in Southern California, with the minimum wage increase and all that, their prices went up because the affordability factor to make the product and deliver it, you know, there's going to be an increase. But in these areas in India where the minimum wage is so low, they have to have a means of delivering a product that is affordable to the customer, and they do that with these price-based affordabilities and these new frameworks and items on the menu that are cheaper to make, produce, and get out to consumer. And their promotional frameworks are heavily indiced on the young population. What you'll notice, and from the readings I've read, is a lot of demand is actually from the mid generations. Not a lot of older generations, a lot of kids. You see kids on dates in India in McDonald's and children, so they try and focus their marketing towards that to build a center mass and create a new tradition for families. And it's very interesting, and the framework behind that is so indefinitely better than a lot of brands who enter the areas, because you can market your stuff to the mass majority, but the people who are going to go out are the people who have the means, times, and wants to do this. So those are the 4 Ps, and then our recommendation. Due to the tensions and the complete loss of a logistical partner, supply chain was heavily disrupted. And the honest feel right now is to disband the northern and eastern McDonald's, focus on the production and growth in the current areas, and gain more attention in the ever-growing markets. So in their current markets, not in the north and the east, if you could focus there and create such a higher physical demand that the rest of the country might start craving it. If you can make it a household name, cousins come over, family comes over, all this. So it kind of, you can create an even heavier demand in these northern and eastern areas by creating such an impactful demand in the rest. making it so that they're going, no, I want that. Like the In-N-Out burger. What's the first thing everybody does when they come to California? They usually want an In-N-Out burger. So this McDonald's can use that same methodology into saying, no, 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 you want these in the area, and then when they start to reband out, now you'll just see the gate of popularity go up. You won't see the volume decline as hard. Um, you can just recreate demand in the north and develop a way better method in the process of supplying and logistics. So while you do this plan, you keep in focus that you know that this is going to be an issue in the future, and that way you focus your plan around the supplying and logistics while you're also creating a new impacted market. This caused a loss in the north, but the gains that you could make up in the other areas is just it could make up for it in the end, including if it just including if you can create it to be a twice a week thing. So thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
So regarding McDonald's, they're broken up into 4 different territories. The north and the east were controlled by Baxi and his group. They owned a 50% stake, and McDonald's owned a 50% stake. The south and west were run by Hardcastle, and back in 2013, McDonald's actually sold their stake in that company. So that is completely owned by Hardcastle currently. Currently, there's 300 units in the south and west, and they are expecting to open between 400 and 500 units by 2022. They are also leading in the green initiative. You can see here that they've saved over 300,000 liters of water, quite a bit of electricity. They've converted 100% of their cooking oil to biodiesel. So they really led the way for that green initiative to help with the perception of McDonald's. The north and east is a little bit more gray. So back in May, there was supposed to be an agreement to buy out Baxi and his group, but unfortunately there was actually a debt recovery judgment against him, as he used those shares as collateral for one of his other investments. So the next court date on that is November 19th. Until that is resolved, it kind of makes it difficult to move forward in the north and the east, just because you can't move forward without him at this point. And obviously, they want to buy him out. They do not want to do business with him. Back in 2017, they closed over 80 units in the north and the east, with about 41 of them coming in the New Delhi area. And then after September 2017, 169 of the units were actually being run against the franchise agreement. McDonald's was not giving him support, so he actually ran with a limited menu and was not able to bring in any new items or any new concepts. So they did fail to bring in McCafes and everything that the South and West currently has. And then you'll see on the next slide, a lot of this would kind of be pending the approval of the acquisition of his shares, because in that way you can get him out and move forward. McDonald's is not a company that wants to own 100%, so they will actively be looking for a developmental licensee to kind of run that and help expand that that market. But in terms of what we can do now, we need to close all the locations. I would recommend doing it as a rolling. That way they're not all closed at the same time, but it's a way for us to kind of get an assessment of the inventory because of the fact that they haven't run for 2 years. We need to make sure that everything is up to date. We need to make sure all the menus are brought up to date. We need to make sure that all the supply and vendors are actually reestablished to those markets, and we can supply to the supply chain. We want to avoid Jammu and Kashmir. I believe Robin probably noted that they're expecting quite a bit of turmoil in those areas. So we want to make sure that we stay out of those areas in a way to protect the brand and also to protect the units. We also need to bring everything up to meet the South and West territories with regard to their green effort. And then we can also work with them and their partners in terms of trying to reestablish McDonald's in the North and East as a family restaurant. And we can bring up the McCafes and really reestablish those markets, reestablish the New Delhi area. So that would be McDonald's take on that.